Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. One of the things we're going to do today is talk about a currency called the Iraqi Dinar that there's been a lot of buzz about in the United States. Now, the currency has been changed since Saddam Hussein was taken out of Iraq. And while Iraq is considered a war-torn country, there's huge amounts of investments going on in Iraq with respect to development, infrastructure, and a lot of people are becoming aware that the Iraqi currency is something that is worthy of an investment. Now, even though we've had 5,000 years of metals and gold being money, the fact of the matter is that the Iraqi dinar is appearing like it's a very wise, sound investment. But in order to understand this, and in order to place a bet on the improvement of Iraq's conditions and the development of a new economy, and the fact that it is a mostly debt-free economy, I invited Ali Agha, the founder of Dinar Trade, to It's Rainmaking Time to discuss the Iraqi dinar, the conditions of Iraq, the changes of Iraq, and why this may be a worthy bet to take and to place. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ali Agha from Dinar Trade to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I really want to help shed light on some of the mystery around this. How I found out about the Iraqi dinar is that someone had approached me a few years ago, and I have to tell you, legitimately, I thought it was a scam. And I said, don't talk to me about this. And then somebody else that was very reputable to me started talking to me about the Iraqi dinar, and I cut him off. I said, don't you dare talk to me about this. It's a Ponzi scheme. And then another person came to me and said, look, Congress people in the United States are getting involved in this. They've been involved in this, and a lot of major people, I'm telling you, it's for real. So, it's kind of like if someone comes up to you and says you look like a horse, you get insulted, and then by the time 3 people walk up to you and say you look like a horse, you think, well, maybe I should get a saddle. So I'm thinking of saddling up, and I'm thinking of bringing the people I love and care about to saddle up, but I really want to have a proper due diligence conversation with you and shed light on this to the public. And that's the context in which I've invited you. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Well, first of all, you do a lot of exchange and buying and selling of a lot of different currencies, right? You and your dad started this how many years ago?
We started this in late 2003. With just the Iraqi dinar, but now we have over 5 different other exotic currencies that we deal in.
What have you seen in the last 5 years with respect to people getting involved in the Iraqi dinar? What is the growth that you're seeing?
Well, as far as us, we are a currency exchange. I mean, we have seen the growth in our company year over year, over 100% in customer-wise, getting into the currency, especially the Iraqi dinar. It is, it's a stable currency now because it's pegged to the dollar. The government of Iraq has actually pegged it to the US dollar, so it doesn't move that much. But what mostly our customers are buying it on speculation that once Iraq economy does stabilize and their oil production does go up, that the government of Iraq will depeg the currency. And that time the currency will, float to its true value.
Everybody's talking about a revalue, an RV, or a reinstatement. What's the distinction between those two for the common person? What's the difference?
Well, for the common person, there's a lot of rumors out on the internet with different blogs and stuff saying that it would revalue overnight. As far as we know and the context we have in Iraq for the last 9 years, what we've been told and asked a lot of different bankers and, economists in Iraq, that Iraq's economy first has to stabilize to a point where it is self-sustainable. Right now, Iraq is producing about 3.2 million barrels a day of oil. They're expecting in the next 4 years to have it up to 7 million barrels of oil a day. That would put it at equivalent to the Saudi Arabian oil production per day. And at that point, I think Iraq will have enough infrastructure and, capitalization from the oil exports for it to have a better currency and a much stronger economy.
What do you say to people, Ali, that say, look, currencies always end up collapsing, whether it's every 100 years or whatever it is? What do you think about that with respect to Iraq's position?
Well, the Iraqi dinar did collapse in 2009 mid-2003, when the war was going on, it collapsed to $1 was 4,000 Iraqi dinars in the market in Baghdad. Today, it's trading at $1 gets you 1,164 dinars. So it did collapse, and now it's just like buying anything. You buy it low and sell it high. I mean, it has already appreciated from 4,000 dinars to 1,164 in the last 7 years, 8 years. So, I mean, it still looks like it's still the bottom. It's not, buying the top of the currency.
The fact that the U.S. Department of Treasury has made this available, the fact that the Presidential Order 13303 has said the U.S. citizens are empowered to do business in Iraq and to purchase the currency, and that a lot of the Iraqi debts have been forgiven. My question to you about the debts being forgiven is there's a lot of buzz about this Paris Agreement where a great portion of the debt of Iraq was forgiven. Is that true or is that a rumor?
No, that is true. I mean, a great deal of debt of Iraq from the first Gulf War has been forgiven. There's some quarrel between Iraq and Kuwait now, and they are solving that. And that's the last payment left, and Iraq has already said by mid next year they'll have Kuwait paid off from the first Gulf War, what Saddam did. So most of the debt was forgiven early in the war in about 2004.
Does that make Iraq kind of sitting in a different position than a lot of countries around the world whose currencies are collapsing and economies are going bust?
Well, yes. I mean, Iraq is basically debt-free. It started as a self-sustaining country itself because it had oil to export, and it is getting there. Right now, Iraq has less debt than the United States or any other small country, even if you take it. In the Middle East, they borrow from the IMF, but they have enough to pay it back because of the oil production.
When you say that the Iraqi dinar is pegged to the U.S. dollar, what do you mean by that? Explain that exactly.
Well, the peg means it's a managed float. I mean, the Iraqi central bank buys and sells dollars against their currency on a daily auction in Iraq, and that's the Central Bank of Iraq. If you go to cbi.iq, that's their website, they buy and sell the currencies to keep it in check with what they think the value should be today.
Do you think that the Sunnis, the Kurds, and the Shiites will all be able to work together in the country of Iraq so that the economy continues to stabilize throughout time?
Well, in the last 9 years, they've been working it out. I mean, naturally, there's been quarrels. These people, have been fighting amongst themselves for 1,000 years. But it looks like they're working towards a better country for everyone. But then there's still political factions, just like we have here. Democrats and Republicans, they have the same type of parties. Everybody sees a different view. But as far as it looks like for the economy of Iraq, it feels like to us on this side of the world that they are getting together for one common goal.
How does a revaluation of a currency work? How would it manifest itself in Iraq? Because isn't that why people want to buy the currency now, for a potential reevaluation?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people are reading these blogs and different gurus coming on and saying this will happen and this will happen. And people actually think that it will revalue overnight or it will happen within a week, which is untrue. I mean, if you're buying a currency or if you're investing in anything, you have to see it as a long-term investment. I mean, I don't know what long-term would be. We've been trading this for 9 years. I understand that. But again, it was a country that was completely drained of all its wealth and resources when Saddam got taken out of power. It was looting going on. So like a baby, you have to wait for it to grow up.
What is your take on the involvement of China and Russia with respect to their participation with oil contracts in Iraq?
Well, China and Russia are the forefront on the oil contracts. I mean, Lukoil and China National Petroleum have got the biggest contracts there. They are working with the government of Iraq to help them, get the technology in there to actually get all the oil out as far as, making the oil production go high. So most of the contracts have gone to China and Russia, all the major contracts. There's contracts in the north of Iraq that have gone to the U.S. companies as well. So I think China and Russia see the potential of it. Maybe 10 years from now, how strong Iraq would be, so they're aligning themselves with that country.
Some people assert that Iraq is the bubbling new China of the Middle East. Do you agree with that or not agree with that?
I do agree with that because in Iraq, you have to see that even the local population is very educated. I mean, there's normal people. I mean, if you look at it, 40% of people in Iraq have a college degree. There's engineers, doctors, lawyers. And most of these people had left Iraq when the war happened. Now the government has been giving them incentives to come back with jobs and, moving back into the country. So you do see all of that, repatriation back into the country. That's helping Iraq.
Is the dinar an asset-based currency?
Well, no, the Iraqi dinar is based off of what Iraq has as resources, and 90% of their export is oil. I mean, every currency has an exportable, tangible asset, and Iraq has its asset of oil. Just like if you look at Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi has oil. Dubai has exports of just normal, industry exports. But Iraq itself is based off of its oil production. That's how it feeds itself.
Do you think that the Iraqi dinar will ever trade in the Forex, like in Switzerland or something?
Well, the Forex markets are over-the-counter markets with banks. At this time, it looks like the Iraqi government is trying to, get the IMF and the World Bank to agree with them. And once they can get that stabilized, you could see it go on the, once it's free-floated by the Central Bank of Iraq. Right now it's pegged. Once it's free-floated, and at that point you could see the Iraqi dinar trading on the Forex.
What's been the biggest barrier, you think, in terms of perception of people getting involved in the Iraqi dinar?
Well, that's in the last 9 years since I've been doing this, the biggest misperception that people have is that if I buy the currency today, it'll be up tomorrow, and don't realize that it's not a lottery ticket. It's an actual currency of a country. You have to look at the economy of the country. I understand it was trading at $3.26 in 1990, but 40 years of tyranny from one man has destroyed the country. So for the country to get back on its feet, we have to be patient with it.
I want to talk to you about the infrastructure of Iraq. How long do you think it will take for the infrastructure that's been destroyed to truly be fixed, like electricity and other things?
They are working on it. I mean, China just put up 2 big power plants. They got the contracts for it. They are working to put up those power plants for the infrastructure for the electric. Iraq is now importing gasoline. They export crude oil out and they import gasoline back in because they don't have the refinery capacity. There is a U.S. company in the north of Iraq that is working to get a refinery in the north and one in the south. So, I mean, it all depends. If you look at it as a country, for the infrastructure to be set, it's already been 9 years. It's a difference of a world already. But for it to get self-sufficient, it still needs more time.
What's your sense of that? Just your sense. I'm sure you have a sense.
I think by 2015, we could actually see it being very stable.
That's close at hand.
It's close.
Yeah, that really is. What's the situation with agriculture there right now? What's Iraqi's future in the agriculture area?
Well, whatever Iraq produces in agriculture, the main agriculture product is dates. They do export dates. That's about 7-8% of their export. The rest of it is whatever agriculture is there, they use it within the country. They were importing a lot of wheat and rice. They've started to get self-sustained with it, but they're still importing from outside, the outside world.
How is the water situation in Iraq? Have you ever looked at that?
I've heard of the water situation. They've got some plants already being put up for clean water, sanitization and stuff. There's 2 plants in Baghdad that have already gone up and they're working, but still they need more. They need more time and more infrastructure to be put in for the clean water for the population itself.
What do you think is the risk of Iraq and Iran getting into a conflict again or some type of invasion from Iran with respect to the potential destruction of Iraq again?
I truly don't think Iran will get into the war with Iraq again like they did back, in 1980s, late 80s. I don't think so because Iraq and Iran do have a relationship now.
They do?
They do have a relationship. I mean, Iraq and all of Iraq's crude oil that is for local consumption, for gasoline, actually exported to Iran, and Iran does make, put the crude back into gas, and then they re-export it back to Iraq. So they do have a relationship there.
I wonder how the U.S. might think about that, because the U.S. wants to have sanctions against Iran, and yet the U.S. is a major player now in Iraqi's government and economy. What do you think about that?
Well, the U.S. Last December gave Iraq basically free rein to do business with whoever they want, because it's their country to begin with.
Sure.
Within reason. So it looks like the U.S. has invested money into it and is hoping Iraq would make the right decisions along the way.
Let's talk about a potential window of time where RV happens.
Well, there is no, that's the wrong word to use.
Give me the right word so I'm clear.
Appreciation of the currency over time is the right word. RV means revaluation overnight. And my experience, I've been trading currency since I was 19 years old. I'm 45. It doesn't happen overnight like people think.
I'm glad you clarified that. Let's talk about the appreciation of the currency, because this is the motivation for people buying the currency. You know that, right?
That's correct.
Right. That's why a lot of people in high places are buying it. They're buying it even if they're looking in the long term, because they are investing in the appreciation of the currency. So I know that you can't know when, but once that happens, or if that happens, what is your role in people cashing in the currency that they bought?
Well, we're a currency exchange. We buy and sell the currency on a daily basis. We have a buy price and a sell price based off the prices in Iraq on a daily basis. If you go to our website, every day we have a buy price, every day we have a sell price. So if Iraqi dinar would appreciate like it has since 2004 till now, we'll keep adjusting our rate accordingly. And there is a liquid market, or if somebody has Iraqi dinars and this price is set by, within Iraq, we base our prices off of the prices in Iraq. And so at any given day, a person would buy Iraqi dinars today and say, 6 months from now, I need to sell it. We will have a buy price for them.
Got it. So it doesn't really matter where people are if they want to cash in, like people in California or any place else?
They can go to our website and actually buy and sell, instantaneously. They just have to ship the actual currency to us before we pay it out.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. No matter what the state of the economy is, there will always be time-honored traditions and special events. The Sterling Hut has been in business since 2008, offering a wide range of fantastic sterling silver products, including finely crafted mint julep cups, personalized baby shower gifts, photo albums, exquisite jewelry boxes and awards, and so much more. The Sterling Hut is an authorized Silver Star international reseller of fine silver products and anniversary gifts. The business is owned by Jewel and Bob Howard. If you would be interested in buying someone a gift of pure sterling silver or sterling plated silver, you can call 1-888-819-1009. Get a 15% discount by going to the Sterling Hut, the Sterling, STERLING, Hut, HUT.com, and saying it's rainmaking time. They will honor a 15% discount for you. Beautiful sterling silver gifts for all of life's occasions. Manufactured in Italy and handcrafted by skilled artisans. They can also be engraved in sterling picture frames, oval and rectangular silver trays, champagne ice buckets, silver goblets, coffee and tea service, coffee pots, silver mugs, candelabras, and silver jewelry unrivaled in design and style. Go to the Sterling Hut at sterlinghut.com. Let's talk for a moment about the security. With a lot of confidence lost in the U.S. marketplace, which I know you know is true, and people are very concerned about the dollar, and a lot of people are fleeing holding dollars, including countries. What do you think about that?
Well, as far as the dollar dilemma, we've seen this QE3 come up again. It's like, as I've said before, it's like definition of insanity to me. You keep doing the same thing again and you expect a different result on the dollar. Now, they're talking about a physical cliff, as we keep hearing about it. it all depends on how our country here runs with the Senate and the president, and everybody has to get together. If they don't, our rating is going to go down again for sure. Because we're at 16 trillion.
You're talking about the U.S. dollar rating, correct?
That's
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
If the U.S. dollar rating goes down again, that will be very bad for us, because then that means we're not creditworthy. It's just like any household, if you look at it. I'm not so bearish on the dollar as, I've heard things. I believe in this country, so I think we will come up with a solution. It won't just fall off the cliff. But with the credit rating going, it's just like anywhere else. If you have your credit score down, who's going to give you money? And if you don't have an income to sustain it.
The thing is, though, about the U.S. dollar, Ali, is that the behavior of the Fed and the behavior of the authorities, the monetary authorities, haven't changed much. So I don't know. We can hope, but I just wonder if it truly is insanity, because they're taking the same actions over and over. They're printing money, and the future of the United States citizens' families are going to be stuck holding the bag for that. Now, if the Iraqi dinar is pegged to the U.S. dollar, what does that mean if we have a collapse of the dollar? And I really want you to really answer this as best you can.
Well, as far as the U.S. dollar collapse, I don't think it will collapse like people think overnight.
No, I don't mean overnight. I'm talking about a slow degradation in the purchasing power, a collapse of the dollar where you're not going to be able to get anything for it. Everything is going to be so inflated.
That's the main thing. If we keep going the way we're going, you can see inflation kick in. We can see it now that inflation kicked into it. The same $1 doesn't buy you the same thing it did 10 years ago. I think over time what will happen is the U.S. dollar will depreciate. If they don't come out with a new plan, as in what are they doing about the debt problem? The main thing is the debt problem. You've got countries like China and Europe, Japan, that are holding our debt paper. Now, if the rating goes bad, the rating agency rates us again, then you could see them dumping the bonds into the market, the U.S. bonds. That will affect the U.S. dollar.
And then if the dollar is pegged to the dinar, what does that mean if that scenario were to play out?
Well, the dinar, when the dollar is pegged to the dinar, I've noticed one thing: the Iraqi government has been readjusting it and keeping their dinar at the same type of level against the dollar. And they also do it against other major currencies, 6 other major currencies around the world. Swedish krona, British pound, the euro, the Japanese yen. So they've been readjusting it off the cross rates to keep themselves a little bit separated from the U.S. dollar itself.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. China and Russia has bought massive amounts of gold. By the way, so has India. What do you think about that?
You have to realize China and Russia and India have economies that are thriving. Their GDP is growing more than we can imagine our GDP is growing. China is looking for 8%. India is at 6.5%, 7% already. They're predicting 10% growth. So when you see that kind of growth in the country makes money. So they think the most tangible asset is, first it was the reserve currency, the U.S. dollar. Now they've been transferring it into gold because they believe in that, the gold is the next stable currency, as you call it, a tangible asset.
Are you involved in gold too?
Well, we do buy and sell gold, yes.
I was doing an interview with Reggie Middleton of Boom Bust Blog about a month and a half ago. And during the interview, he really went off on China. And he said the information we're getting about their GDP is a farce. He thought that we are being lied to about it. And they're not doing as well as they're portraying. What do you think about that?
I truly think so, because I got some information this summer, the same thing, that in Shanghai, most of the buildings are empty. These beautiful skyscrapers they're made. And I truly think it feels like China is playing a shell game with us. They can put out whatever they want to make the world think what they're doing. But inside the country, I've heard it from my sources as well, that China's economy isn't that strong. It's standing on the brink. They're trying to get the local economy going so they don't have to be so export dependent, because the U.S. slowed down and they were banking on the U.S. and Europe. And that didn't happen. So now they're trying to get their own local economy going. And it is, they're trying their best. It is working. But still, they've got so much inventory of commercial real estate that it's hard to believe that they can still all that. for the economy to keep coming along.
How involved is China in Iraq's economy now, to the best of your knowledge?
Well, I know in China has been actually, China National Petroleum has one of the biggest contracts there. They are predicting that they can bring Iraq's oil at 2017 up to $12 million a day. China has also done the water plant for them. They've also, China is the one who's actually setting up the road infrastructures for Iraq. They got the contract for that as well.
What do you feel or think about that? Does it worry you? Does it make you happy? Do you not care? What's your position about that?
Well, as long as Iraq, I mean, we look at it this way. If the country of Iraq is benefiting from China's low labor cost, and they have the technology, not as nice as ours, but they still have a technology. And if that is there, then China doesn't really have to worry about, as you say, as long as they can get their feet into Iraq, they will be a player in Iraq's economy because they're helping them set up the infrastructure. That's okay with me. I mean, as long as it helps the country, we don't care who it is.
Do you think that China is invested in Iraqi dinar?
I don't think they're invested in the currency itself. I think China is invested itself in the local infrastructure and the oil infrastructure to benefit from.
What do you think about the Iraqi dinar being backed by a tangible asset, literally having a backing of the oil reserve as a tangible asset? Don't you think it would boost up the involvement in the currency and the appreciation of the currency if that were to happen?
Well, Iraq has right now an oil reserve of 145 billion barrels in reserve. It's sitting in Iraq, and that's from the U.S. Energy Information. You can look it up. So it is backing itself with oil. It also has gold that has been backing with.
Really? How much gold?
I really don't have a figure on gold, but I know for a fact in the markets in Dubai and stuff, you can see when Iraq does buy, it spikes up the gold, and you hear markets, this is all going back to Iraq.
Do you have a vision for Iraq yourself? How many times have you been there?
Well, I have a vision for Iraq as in you could see it in 2015 to 2020. We will see the actual economy, people making money within the country. And when the local population is the 28 million population, starts making money, the oil is being exported, there's industry being helps Iraq have an industry, basically, within the country. And at that point, I can see it as any other Middle East country that is self-sustaining itself and making a name for itself.
In 2003, on October 15th, a new design of currency was introduced across the whole country, including the Kurdish areas that had used the Swiss print dinar, printed from 1979 to 1989, and it was exchanged at one new Iraqi dinar equals one old Iraqi dinar, like that. Approximately 4 trillion old dinars are expected to be exchanged. Old dinars ceased being legal tender on January 15, 2004. My concern, and it's a legitimate concern, is this could happen again, couldn't it? Where, let's say that not just you, but any Iraqi dinar currency that's being brought into the U.S. could, in fact, be retired again. What could cause that to be retired? This is what investors are going to be concerned about.
Well, the first time when the Iraq changed its currency was for one reason. It was simple. When the U.S. went in there and, liberated Iraq, they said, well, you've liberated us from Saddam Hussein, but we still, every time we buy a piece of bread, we still get to see Saddam's face because his face was on every note. So that's why they changed the currency and gave it 1-to-1. Now, this currency has no dictated space. It has spaces of maybe, poets and farmers and stuff like that. Like really the old, how I'd say it is, the people who were famous in Iraq for being, having poets and doing something for the country. So I don't think your currency was widely accepted. The new currency was widely accepted when they made the switch. And it is being used in the country itself on a daily basis. Now, why Iraq would rechange its currency, there has to be hyperinflation to take off the zeros off the currency. Iraq's inflation is at 7% officially. Unofficially, I've heard it's around 11%. So the inflation is as much as inflation we have here in the States. So for them to change the currency again would be, it wouldn't be a benefit for the country unless there's a reason for it.
Okay, I got it. Two things. One is Jim Grant was asked what he thinks of the Iraqi dinar. And in the interview I saw with him, he handled it very interestingly. He said that he is in the Iraqi dinar, but in terms of investment information, for people to pretend like they're taking a bet at a bar and not to invest more than they can afford to lose. In other words, it's fine to be in it, but don't invest any more than you can afford to lose. I mean, that was the essence of what the meta message was. But I thought it was interesting. He's in. The investment advice, of course, was given in a proper way, obviously. And I wondered what you think about that.
Well, like any investment, Kim, you have to take it whenever you invest, even if you invest in our stock market or a mutual fund. You only invest what you are about to risk. So, I mean, even the Iraqi dinar or an Apple stock, or you can take the British pound for that matter, you only invest what you know you are, you can sustain yourself, even if there's a loss in it. As far as the Iraqi dinar, I mean, people don't realize this, but yes, it's a currency, it can move up and down, but only invest what you think you can lose. But it's not really like a bar bet. It would be like an investment, like you would be buying a stock.
Interesting. And my last question to you before we finish up this interview, and I really appreciate you taking your time, is the following. One of the things that gives people the sense of trust and peace, not only is the company that they're going to buy the Iraqi dinars from, but it has been touted that the Dinar machine is the authenticating machine, obviously made in England, that safeguards the investment. But I started to read a little about this, Ali, and it got a little more complicated. And I want to just read you something short for a moment. There are various types of counterfeit detection systems, including multi-currencies, UV, ultraviolet, IR, infrared, EMG, enhanced magnetics, MTD, metal thread, PPD, paper properties detection for U.S. dollars, and SMDS, super magnetic detection system, or C3 detector, and more. For example, the detection systems authenticating the most highly counterfeited currency on the planet, which is the U.S. dollar, did not apply the same authentication factor that the Iraqi dinar did. They're using ultraviolet as the authentication capability through this Dinar machine. But apparently there are ways, even in the United States, you can buy a machine at Sam's Club with UV light and backlight that you can also authenticate that's even more advanced than the Dinar machine, which is very expensive. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I mean, we have a Dinar machine, a few of them actually at our office. Basically, the Iraqi dinars, the way they have designed the new currency, they have more counterfeit measures in there, more than the U.S. $20 bill. Dinar printed the currency on assumption that, it's a war-torn country, it's a brand new country, we're introducing this new currency. So they've put those measures in there that it cannot be counterfeited. Now, I shouldn't say cannot. Anything can be counterfeited, but we check all our currencies that we bring in from Iraq. We check it on the Dinar. It is checked at our office in Dubai one time, then it's rechecked again here, and then we give it to the customers. In 9 years since we've been in business, not one bill has ever been counterfeit or has stopped the machine or anything of the sort.
Right.
So it looks like the currency itself is pretty stable. I mean, if you're getting a $100 bill, I think Iraqi dinar has more counterfeit measures than the $100 bills are.
Should the company that prints the currency be the one that's authenticating the currency? In other words, shouldn't there be a second or third party authenticating it and not the one who's printing it?
Well, they have listed the countermeasures. I mean, where they've put in all the security features in the bill, in the currency itself.
Right.
You don't have to use a Dinar machine. It's pretty obvious if you look at the Central Bank of Iraq's website. They show, what anti-counterfeiting measures they put into the currency. You can check it yourself. But Dinar just gives you it has already its machine, so it does it faster. But if you pick up one bill at a time, you can look at it yourself and see, yep, it's there.
Is the business you're in stressful?
Very stressful. Being honest with you, the stress is only this, that customers call us on a daily basis going, well, I bought this currency 2 weeks ago. Has it gone up yet? It's like they don't understand what a long-term investment is, and I completely understand. I would do the same thing, but that's the stress of the business, explaining to the public that you are buying a currency. It is a long-term investment. You're buying only what you don't need the money for. I mean, you're putting that much funds aside, and you just wait and see what happens. Just like when you buy a stock, you don't have control over that company while the stock rises or falls, but you're just betting on it. Hope to God it goes the right way on your side. So that's the stress of the currency.
Sure. How do you, as a currency exchange, establish your sell price? Are you tying it to the central bank of Iraq, like a couple points above that, when a currency appreciates, or it doesn't matter what it's doing?
Well, we look at the prices every day off the market prices in Baghdad. They tell us what their buy price and sell price is. According to that, including the transportation cost up to the U.S. here and our profits, naturally. Then we price the currency, and we price it. We have a buy price and a sell price, and that's the spread we keep in between, and that's our profits for our expenses and everything else.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Did you know that approximately 65,000 of the 70,000 chemicals that have been dumped into the environment are considered to be highly toxic? That we are ingesting those toxins through the air, the water, and the food supply, and that no matter how much you eat organic food and drink the best, purest water, we all have to detoxify from these chemicals that we're being bombarded with. We're also being bombarded with something invisible. The radiation fallout from Fukushima, one of the worst man-made environmental disasters humanity has seen since Chernobyl. In combination with the BP oil spill, the fact is that we have to detoxify our bodies of toxins and of the radiation. But how do you do that? You do that with rock-powdered zeolite. Zeolite is the most effective mineral you can take to detoxify your body. Zeolite has been used to treat Chernobyl victims, the land in agriculture. It's been very effective. It's also given to animals to detoxify as well. If you are interested in establishing a prevention program and detoxifying your body, go to etszeolite.com or call Hank Heister at 818-707-0468. And if you tell him it's rainmaking time, you will get free shipping for the product that you order. Call Hank Heister at 818-707-0468 and order your Zeolite today. And back to the show. What does it mean that all of the currency that you bring back from Iraq is cleared by U.S. Customs? What exactly does that mean?
The U.S. law states that anything you bring over $10,000 must be declared in U.S. Customs. When we bring it in, we bring in $1 million or $2 million at a time. And so we have to declare it officially at U.S. Customs, and U.S. Customs has a look at it. And, they say Iraqi Dinar. They basically verify, yes, what we're declaring, we're bringing in.
But they're not authenticating. You're just having to let them know how much you're bringing in.
That is correct.
So they're not an authentication measure. The Treasury isn't either, are they?
No, they're not. Nor the Treasury or the U.S. Customs is. They just clear it so they know what money is coming into the country and it's legally declared. And we have to prove them, with invoices where we bought it and stuff. So they look at that part of it.
Sure.
But they're not looking at the currency. They're not responsible for the currency being counterfeit. Naturally, they don't want any counterfeit currency coming into the country. So I'm pretty sure that Customs has when you have a rapport with them that you've been doing for 9 years, then you're okay with them. But I think anybody new coming in, they would naturally check on them.
And lastly, what is the tax implications of purchasing a currency and holding it for investors?
Well, I'm not a tax advisor, but as far as I know, on appreciation, just like any stock or any other trade you do in life, there's a capital gains tax and a local state tax if it's applied to you in your state. You would have to actually find out from your accountant what the tax implications are for your local state and the federal government. But as far as long-term or short-term, there's no such thing in the currency world. When you're holding it, you make a profit, you pay a piece of the action to to our government, because our government is a business as well. It's USA Incorporated, I call it. Every business they invested in this country. You have to pay the piper.
If you have an IRA, an IRA, an IRA can actually hold Iraqi dinars, correct? Or any other currency. Is that true, or is it just the dinars?
No, they can hold any other currencies depending on it, but the IRA companies do take Iraqi dinars as an investment. So you can hold it in your IRA account.
Okay, that's great. Well, Ali Agha, I want to thank you for joining us at It's Rainmaking Time, and I think that the public has a pretty good first-level context of what you do and who you are and the Iraqi dinar and what's happening in Iraq. And I wondered if there's anything else you'd like to say.
Well, there's a lot of information we have on our website at dinartrade.com. We have a page there that says Why Exotic Currencies, explains what Iraq has. You can read that. I mean, you can go to our latest news page and see the news every day. And our buy-sell prices are listed on our website, continuously, 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with, learning from, and listening to Ali Agha, the founder and chairman of Dinar Trade at dinartrade.com. Feel free to go to Dinar Trade, check it out for yourself, and when you're prompted to purchase the Iraqi dinar, if that's what you're moved to do. Ali, thank you so much for being with us.